Before I start, I want to thank you, Sonja, for the invitation. I'm very happy to join the seminar with you and experiences on farm education. So, yeah, I'm from the teacher education at the University of Vechta. And we are responsible for the further development of teacher education at our university. So we have approximately 5,000 students, and 1/3 of these students are involved in teacher educations, are students who want to become a teacher. And we are responsible for the study program, for the structure of their study and so on. And we are also responsible for the further training of teachers. And our concern is to get the students who want to become a teacher acquainted with the theories and practice of place-based education, because we are so convinced of this enormous potential of place-based education as a way of learning for both the students at the university and the pupils at schools. So, and if we talk about place-based education in my home area, which is in northwest of Germany, we talk about agriculture, because I live in a very intensively agricultural area. When you see these numbers in Oldenburger Münsterland, we have about 300,000 inhabitants, and look at the number of pigs and turkeys and chickens. So you have imagination how intensive is our agriculture. Most of the farms in our area are conventional farms. In fact, I know one organic farm in my area. But, well, you can use conventional farms as learning places. It's a challenge to get students involved in the working process. That's not so easy possible. But pupils can get inquiry tasks. And they're active on the farm by doing investigations. And in order to use farms as learning places and to get farm education integrated in the teacher education, in the study program at the university and in the school programs, we built up this local network. And you see here, the University of Vechta, we have established 2 organizations, which are called RUBA and Agrela. And these organizations, they are responsible for the organization of farm visits. And students of our university are involved in this work, in the farm visits. They learn to do it, they learn how to prepare these farm visits at schools. And for sure, we also do research on farm education. So it's, yeah, we're doing practice and research. And yeah, my task is to get it integrated into the teacher education. I will point on this picture later on in my presentation. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. The aims of my presentation is to give you insights into the practice of our farm education, just to show you what we are doing on the farms. Then I will try to give a definition of what is good farm education from my point of view, that needed to be discussed for sure. And I want to point out driving factors for good farm visits. Again, good is my opinion. For sure, there are a lot of different opinions. And finally, I want to show the organization of our farm visits. So, our farm educational work, yeah, this picture shows kindergarten kids. That is one of our target groups. We have different target groups. In fact, most of the pupils who come to our farms are in the age of 10 to 16 years old. But here, kids farm their own pieces of land where they want to grow wheat, and they visited this farm repeatedly during a year. So they did all the work on the farm which needs to be done during the year. we use family farms as learning place, so full-time family farms, and they're temporarily used as learning places. That is one of our principles, to give insights into the real agriculture. And it's important for us to get the pupils active on the farm. So we don't have any guided tours. It's not like having a group of 30 people and going around the farm. We split them in different groups. Every time we work in small groups of 5 to 6 pupils, and they have to fulfill special tasks. For example, here you see a group of boys. They measure up a fodder ration for pigs. And before they do this task, and you see these blue overalls, they're typical for our work because of hygiene reasons. Every time they have to wear these blue overalls. These boys we met in advance. We go to the school 1 week, some days before the farm visit. We get to know the pupils. What are their interests? What are their experiences? What are their skills? What they want to do on the farm? And we split them in groups, and every group has special tasks. And they are prepared, they get to know these tasks in advance, and then they can work on their own on the farm. Sure, there has to be a coordinator, but especially in this age, they act quite independently on the farm. They get to know the high tech, for sure, which is also a part of the modern agriculture. Yeah, here the blue overall is a little bit too big. It's one size fits all. So it's the same overall for an adult or for a primary school kid. They carry together a fodder ration for a milk cow. And the same task, it's our experience, it's no problem to use the same tasks for adults. It's just the point of being active, doing something on my own. Not to have one telling me, well, a cow gets that and that and that, but to take the fodder in their own hand, to smell it, to touch it, like Katrina said, to bring it to the cows, to feed them. And then you will remember what is the fodder ration of a cow if you have done this work. Yeah, the students can experience the nature as basis for food production, what is needed, the soil, the water. And here they're involved in the harvest work. That is an example for a typical inquiry task. So here the students are asked to count the number of plants in a square meter. So how many wheat plants do you have on a square meter? And then you can calculate how much grain you have per ear, how much grain you have per square meter, how many square meters you need to get 1 kilo of flour, for example, to get an imagination what is behind the food I can buy at the supermarket or on the market. Here they do identifying of plants on the meadow. But we also look besides the fields. What is besides the fields, for example, in this creek? What species do live in the creek? And this is a quite natural creek, but mainly we have these very straightened, deepened, transformed creeks besides the fields, and then they can do a comparison in regard to the species they find in this creek and in these very transformed streams. And you can imagine what is the result, that in these very straight, deepened streams you almost have no variety of species. You find 2, 3 species and that's it. So that shows the effects of the intensity of agriculture you have in the nature. And then you have these encounters you can't plan. And that is a point which I think it's very important to give the students time they can use for their own on the farm. Not to have a strict schedule and you have 10 minutes in this table and 30 minutes there, but to give them time, and then encounters like this can happen. And these are very intensive experiences which have very big effects on the experiences you can remember later on. Or like this one. Here the pupils had the task to make a sketch of the pen in a pig stable and to identify the different places in a pen, the places the pigs use for sleeping, for the fodder and so on. And that is an example how we use this conventional farms, how these conventional farms can be used as learning place by using inquiry tasks. Because it's no point in feeding the pigs, that is all running automatically. Yeah, that are just some examples what students can do. Or this is a very special situation where birth happened. A cow gave birth to a calf, and the students experienced this situation. And for situations like this, you need time. And then forget your timetable. This is important, and that is a special value of the farm as learning places. That situations happened, and there's the enormous potential of learning. The potential is in these situations. And for sure, it's not only about to give a positive picture of agriculture. We have a lot of problems in our regions, and there are a lot of questions concerning animal welfare, for example, and to be open, to start a dialogue. Here you have the farmer, and here these are teachers. And it's so important to have this meeting between teachers or students and the farmer and have to start the dialogue, that there's time to understand the view or the perspective of a farmer, to ask questions and to get answers. And our experience is that the farmer plays a very big role in how the students perceive the situation, how they are going to assess the situation. So, for example, this farmer had a very good conversation with this group of boys, and the boys, they were so open for what the farmer is doing and how he is running the farm, because they just went on very good with each other. So, and if there is time for these close conversations, it helps the students to understand why farmers are running the farm in this and this way. But for sure, you also have to reflect on this afterwards. It's not a point of just overtaking the view of a farmer. You have to reflect on this view. You have to think over it afterwards. Another example for just a situation, just a talk between students and the farmer. Here again. And what I said before already is that we do preparation at schools. So that is a situation, that is a colleague of mine, Caroline. She's visiting a class which will afterwards come to a farm. She gives an introduction into the farming in Oldenburger Münsterland, what are the characteristics, and so. And then depending on the subject, depending on the curriculum, we will pick up certain topics. So that is, before we had a talk with the teacher and we have a notion what is the point, what is the topic of the curriculum we pick up at the farm visit. So there's also always a close connection between the school program and the farm visit. Teacher use us for getting through the curriculum. It's not something additional, it's for the curriculum. And because of that, farm visits are quite popular, because the teacher know, well, the students learn something we need. Otherwise we have to teach it in the classroom, and now we can learn it on the farm. And this is on the farm where the students prepare a presentation. I think that's a very important part. So our farm visits doesn't stop with the last visit in the milk stable also. It ends with preparing a presentation where they have to show the other groups. So every group makes their own group presentation, and the pupils have to share what every group has experienced during the farm visit. And during the preparation of this presentation, they have to think over it. What are the main findings? What are the most impressive experiences? And they have to present that to the other pupils. And that is a way of getting the reflection started. And without reflection, I would say a farm visit is almost worth nothing. So it's really so important to spend time on the reflection. This is the way to get the experiences settled down in the head and the heart, to think over it again, to have a discussion, to share it. And they can do a poster presentation like this. So you see this in the machine hall of the farm. And this group has made a presentation of the way of the milk on the farm, and they do the presentation towards the other groups. You can use posters like this in the school. They can have another presentation there. You can have other forms of presentations. They can make any articles for the school website. They can do any kind of cooking and so on. So there are many possibilities. And here these students, they discuss their findings afterwards with the farmers. So these students visited different farms, and the task for them was how this farm will look like in 20 years. Decide what is the best way you can think how this farm will look like in 20 years. And they made scenarios on this and discussed their ideas afterwards with the farmers. So the farmers were confronted with ideas what could happen to their farm. And in situations like these, the question arises, what can I do, I as consumer, to make this picture possible in the future, to make this scenario come true? That is always a very important question. Not only what has the farmer to do, but what can I do as consumer to have agriculture, to have farming like I want it to be. So what is a good farm visit from my point of view? A good farm visit enables people to renew and strengthen the connection to farming, to the natural environment and to the region. So that's a personal part, to have a stronger connection between people and agriculture, people and their region and their natural environment. And the second one is more a societal point. A good farm visit is specifically targeted at the acquisition of knowledge, values and action possibilities related to the sustainable consumption and production of food. So that is the aim we try to achieve, that it's a step towards more sustainability in the production and consumption of food. That we make people think of how it's done today and how it could be in the future. And when this is a good farm visit, what are driving factors for a good farm visit? Sure, first you need this original encounter with agriculture directly on the spot. And we try to have this original encounter on farms in the close neighborhood of the pupils. So they don't have to drive 1 hour to any farm, which is specialized on farm visits. No, we use the farms directly in the neighborhood of the pupils. So you can imagine we work together with a lot of different family farms to have this principle implemented. So the pupils can recognize, or the students can recognize, that happens in my region. It's not far away. It has to be designed to enable experience-oriented, action-oriented learning. So no guided tours. It's no classroom teaching on the farm. We have to use the possibilities the farm is offering, and that are hands-on activities. The students need to be active. Yeah, collaborative learning, shared acquisition of information, ideas and values. That is this learning in a group, so that every student is able to contribute to the group work, to bring in their own skills, their own knowledge, their own experiences, and to share this. And in this small group, we also can have a close dialogue with the farmer, as you saw on one of some of the pictures. What is very important to think of, what kind of group is coming on the farm. Every group is different. And for sure, every group has a big variety of individuals. So if we go to the class some days before, it's also because we want to get to know the pupils who come to the farm. Not only to give them tasks, but to get to know them. Time is very important to have these special situations. And the reflection over the experiences. So a follow-up of the farm visit at school is also important. So that belongs to our farm educational work, the preparation, the farm visit and the follow-up at school. And we have people in these two associations I pointed out earlier who are doing all this work. And to have a transfer of the achieved knowledge to situations in daily life in regard of sustainable consumption of food. We think it's important to have a long-term visit or to have repeated visits. There are several studies which pointed out that if you have just a short-term visit, the effect of the visit is not that big. So it's better to have repeated visits during the year or to have a long-term visit like 1 or 2 weeks on a farm. But for sure, these long-term visits you can't have on a family farm. Then you need farms specialized on this. But what about repeated visits? To have a deepened encounter with agriculture. Most of our visits are short-term visits, but we are quite critical with the effects of these visits. So the expectations shouldn't be too high with short-term visits. So again, our local network. And as you can see, there's a university, there are these two organizations, the two associations who are doing the farm visits, but we built up connections to a lot of other partners we use to improve our work, to enable our work, for funding, for evaluation, for just getting support, lobbying work, to get contacts. For sure, these are the most important partners, the family farms itself. Because here everything is running on the farms. And contacts to other regional or international projects for exchange of experiences, but also for funding. So the farmers we work with, they get a special fare per hour for their work. If they're welcoming pupils, they get money for it. And we have these people doing the work at these organizations who need to get money. So we need a lot of funding, for sure. We can't take this money from the schools, then it would be too expensive. So funding and project applying is everyday work. And one very important project, I have to look at the watch, okay. A very important project behind our farm educational work is this project, Creating Transparency from the Counter to the Producer. It's a project in Lower Saxony, and it's funded by the EU and by the Ministry of Agriculture in Lower Saxony. And there we get most of the money. I think this picture is too small that you can see it properly, I guess. Well, the main message is the EU funding, the involvement of the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Education, both. Both are giving money into the work. And we have a central coordination. And this central project coordination gives certification to regional appliers for the money. So if farmers want to get money from this project, first they have to fulfill certain criteria concerning their qualification, concerning the farm educational work they do. So in order to avoid guided tours, they have to show us we are able to conduct farm visits where pupils can learn in an active way. And there are further trainings, exchange of experiences for sure, and then they get money for it. In short. And in Lower Saxony, these projects Creating Transparency achieved that approximately 65,000 pupils per year can join farm visits. That's approximately 3,000 school classes. And we work together with 45 regional educational providers. And the two organizations of the University of Vechta are two of these 45 regional educational providers. That are good numbers, but one has to be really careful because most of the visits are short-term visits, and I think we have to work on more repeated visits, more time we spend on reflection in order to achieve something. And I think, yeah, thank you for your attention.